Mindfulness teacher John Kabat-Zinn once said, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." And if there's one place where the waves never stop, it's school. Students today are surrounded by pressure, deadlines, social expectations, and constant performance demands. Yet, very few are ever taught how to navigate the emotional waves they face every single day. We teach students how to solve equations, write essays, and memorize facts, but we rarely teach them how to calm their minds, how to regulate their emotions, or how to manage stress in healthy ways. And that gap is costing them. It's costing them academically, emotionally, and socially. Today, I want to persuade you that yoga should be implemented in schools as a regular part of the school day. I'll begin by outlining the problems students face. Then I'll explain why schools why schools should adopt yoga as a policy. After that, I'll show how yoga provides real research-supported benefits. And finally, I'll address the concerns people often raise and explain why they don't outweigh the advantages. Let's start by looking at what students are actually dealing with. To begin with, school environments naturally create high levels of stress. Learning requires challenge, discomfort, and constant evaluation. Students are judged through tests, they're judged through grades, behavior expectations, and social dynamics. They're expected to perform academically while also managing friendships, family pressures, extracurriculars, and the nonstop comparison on culture of social media. On top of that, mental health concerns among students are rising. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in 2022, youth emotional distress has been increasing for years. The CDC explains that mental health directly affects academic well-being. When students are overwhelmed, they can't focus, they can't regulate their emotions, and they can't learn effectively. And beyond those issues, schools simply don't teach emotional regulation. Even though schools claim to prepare students for life, they rarely teach stress management strategies. This is especially concerning when Harvard University reports that emotional health and self-control are major predictors of long-term success, even more than IQ or academic achievement. With all this in mind, it becomes clear that students need practical tools to manage stress, and yoga offers exactly that. Schools should implement yoga as a regular part of the school day to support students' mental health and learning. This could be a short morning routine, a weekly class, or integrated movement and mindfulness breaks throughout the day. The format can vary, but the presence of yoga should not. Let's explore how yoga actually addresses these problems. One major advantage that yoga is inclusive and accessible. It's non-competitive, adaptable, and culturally inclusive. Every student can succeed at their own pace, regardless of background, ability, and regardless of their physical skills. There's no pressure to perform and no comparison to others, which creates a safe space for students to focus on themselves. Another key benefit is yoga's impact on mental health and brain function. The National Institutes of Health reports that yoga improves health. The National Institute of Health reports that yoga improves mental health, reduces anxiety, and strengthens stress management skills. It also activates the brain's regions responsible for attention, motivation, and neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to learn and adapt. Yoga also contributes to a healthier school climate. Education Week reports in 2021 that schools integrating yoga and mindfulness saw fewer discipline problems and calmer classrooms. When students are emotionally regulated, teachers spend less time managing behavior and more time teaching, which is what we want in a school. And I've seen these benefits personally. After taking a couple years off from college, I returned feeling more stressed, nervous, and overwhelmed than before. I don't feel like the same student I used to be. When I started practicing yoga on my own, it noticeably lowered my stress levels, helped me regulate my emotions, and made it easier to focus on my coursework. My experience mirrors exactly what the research shows. Yoga genuinely helps students manage stress. Even though yoga has clear benefits, some people may still raise concerns, but these concerns can be easily addressed. One common concern is that yoga might take too much time away from academics. However, yoga sessions can be brief and easily integrated into existing routines. Education Week reported that schools replacing detention with yoga saw discipline problems drop significantly, which actually saved instructional time and improved classroom focus. Another hesitation is the belief that yoga is just stretching and won't make a meaningful difference. But the American Osteopathic Association explains that yoga improves emotional regulation, reduces stress, and increases mental clarity. Healthline lists more than a dozen science-based benefits, including improved brain functioning and emotional resilience. Yoga is far more than physical movement. It is a mental health and learning tool. A final concern is that yoga might conflict with some families' cultures and religious beliefs. In reality, modern school-based yoga programs are completely secular. They focus on breathing, movement, and emotional regulation, not spirituality. The NIH describes yoga as a mind-body practice used in healthcare and education. And schools can offer opt-out options to respect all families while still providing the benefits to the majority of students. Let's return back to the original quote. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. School will always bring challenges. Life will always bring stress. But if we give students the tools to navigate those waves, tools like yoga, we give them something far more valuable than test scores. We give them resilience. Today, we looked at the problems students face, the policy solution of implementing yoga in schools, the benefits supported by research, and the concerns that can be reasonably addressed. What we practice grows stronger. If schools choose to practice mindfulness, empathy, and emotional resilience through yoga, they won't just create calmer classrooms, they'll create healthier communities for generations. Thank you.